Well, hi guys. One of the things that we're hoping to do through the website here is that you get to be able to interact a little bit more with, I guess, some of the extra stuff that we may not be able to get chance to talk about on Sunday sermons, on even the other times I get to have time with you either as individuals or as groups. We wanted to almost have the I guess some of the uncut parts of teaching and wrestling with some of the issues that we're looking at as a whole community. And so you'll notice as the weeks go on that we begin to do this sort of a thing. So you get access to have teaching and just some questions, some provoking thoughts and arguments and discussions and applications that hopefully help you individually, help your cell groups, help your missional communities engage with some of this teaching at a way deeper level. Sounds rather grand, perhaps maybe oversell, I don't know, but I hope that as you and I talk, as you and I reflect just a little bit more on some of the things that we teach a bit more publicly, where you don't get the chance to interact, I hope it's a helpful way of your own personal journey with God, going deeper, your own personal grapplings, having the space to work those through just a little bit more. So the thing that we've been looking at an awful lot, I appreciate the guys at King Centre, the students over there, you may not have been quite so much in the loop of this, but certainly the last couple of times that I've been over to KC, the thing really that I've been thinking through at a deeper level is grace. And I've been looking at that in the context of Paul's letter to the church in Galatia. And really the primary message that I've been trying to give as I've spoken, particularly on Sundays in the talks, has been that grace is first the unmerited favour of God. That means that you're both given a new identity, which is that of a son of God, and you're also given a commission, which is one to change the world. And grace is the provision or the means by which any believer is empowered to do that. And it's important that we recognise that provision is free and doesn't require us to earn it. Grace is opposed to a mindset of earning. And here's the thing that I want to just pick up with you a little bit more, because it's important that we understand this dynamic of grace and law at a deeper level. And some of you may be familiar with this, some of you may be less familiar. We have a thing at St Thomas in KC called Life Shapes, and one of them is the semicircle. The semicircle helps us understand this picture of how grace is opposed to this mindset of earning. Grace is knowing that your performance doesn't count towards your acceptability before God and before other people. Grace means that we've all heard that expression, that there's nothing that you can do to make God love you more, nothing you can do to make him love you less. And the semicircle speaks into it. The semicircle is the swing between two different states of being. They could be described as rest and work. They could be described as it is in John 15, as abide and fruit. To use some of the other theological language that we've often been using, covenant. You resting in your covenant identity, and kingdom. You doing adventures in God for the kingdom. It could be described as your identity and your calling. Could also be described as your being and your doing. So life is made up constantly of these two different extremes. Life is made up of times where we withdraw just to know our being. We rest. We have seasons where we draw back to rest. And it's clear from the creational stories that when God first made us, our first day as human beings was a day where we rested, a day where we just spent time with Him. We didn't work. Our day one, the first day of the week, the Sabbath day, was a day of rest, not a day of work. And so we're made only to work from the place of rest. So life is made up of abiding and bearing fruit. It's made up of resting and working. It's made up of being and doing. It's made up of identity and calling. And if we put a pendulum in here, there are times when the pendulum is moving in this direction. We call those times, in our slightly odd Christian language sometimes, we call those seasons. And according to the John 15 passage, if we pick up abide and fruit, these times are called growth. And the times when the pendulum swings back this way, it's called times of pruning. It means when the fruit is taken away from us. The thing that we need to recognise and get in grace is that this, so often, is to do with our performance. It's to do with our achievements. This process is to do with our acceptance. Sorry, I'm getting my terms a bit messed up. And this process is to do with our significance. Now, the way that the enemy has always tried to counteract the grace of God is to do the opposite of what it was that we were originally first designed to do. And the thing that we were first designed to do was to rest, was to abide, was to remain in Him, was to find first our acceptance in Him. We were first made to know our acceptability before God in the place of doing nothing. Because knowing our acceptance in Him in the place of doing nothing is the thing that begins to bring significance to our lives. Everybody is looking for significance. But it's important that we know as Christians, our significance, because of God's grace, first comes from knowing that we're accepted. We're significant because we're loved. We're significant because He accepts us. That's the thing that gives us significance. It's the thing that provides us with security. And as soon as we know that we're significant, it gives us the platform, the safe platform, from which to go and begin to achieve or perform, or again in the John 15 passage, bear fruit. All that means is that we begin to see signs of God's kingdom breaking through us and touching other people, fruitfulness. And so the God-ordained pattern and the rhythm of God's grace is that we would first know acceptance. So those times where you do nothing and you know His delight over you, those times where you sit still in the day and you say, God, I'm just here, I'm not going to pray, I'm not going to worship, I'm just here for you to love me. Those times where in doing nothing, you get to know His joy. In doing nothing, you get to know His delight. And that acceptance, knowing in the midst of doing nothing, is what brings you significance. And knowing that you're significant because you're accepted is the platform that you can go on to begin to achieve things for Him. Now, the problem is this. That's the God-ordained pattern of operating. The enemy knows that that's the way that it's the only way we bear fruit. We cannot bear fruit any other way. What the enemy wants to do is to undermine that God-given rhythm of fruitfulness, because he doesn't want Christians to be fruitful. And he gets us to start over here.